Primetime local news, serving the Lakeland and Midwest regions.
Well, happy Friday, everybody.
Yeah.
Welcome to another edition of Primetime Local News. I'm Connor Chan, filling in for Michaela Henschel, and she is not here with us today. And we have a lot of exciting things going on. A lot happened in social media. Elon Musk, for number one, who made headlines in for the interesting way possible, gentlemen. And we also have Gerard Lampow on the couch with us today, and Josh.
First time, Gerard.
Yeah,
Primetime debut for you.
It's good to be finally on the couch, eh? And I was looking forward to having Michaela so I can ask her how's the weather thing going, but I gotta just ask you.
It's been going all right. Well, we got a great show for you guys lined up tonight. So, Josh, we'll start with you. What do we got going on in sports for us?
Plenty going on in sports. Barons football, they just had a successful exhibition game against Westlock. They're off on the weekend against Red Deer this week. Also, Evening of Champions out in Bobcats out in the Civic Center for the Bobcats. That was a success. And a few other going on. So a lot of Rustlers action coming up soon in the next couple weeks.
Sounds pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Now, Gerard, what about you in agriculture? What's going on?
The wonderful world of agriculture. Health Canada has got a public consultation on right now, and it's all about strychnine and the use of it to control rodents in the field. So ag producers are wondering, well, if you take away strychnine, what do you do? All right, so that consultation is online on Health Canada's website. We'll chat about that some more.
Exactly. So we'll take a close look at that. But right now, let's go out to Brittany, who is out in Vermilion.
I'm here at Lakeland College for the grand opening of their new animal health clinic. And as you can see behind me, this room is beautiful. The entire facility is. And we're going to be catching up today with a few people from the college as well as some students to find out their first impressions. But that's coming up a little bit later in the show. Now over to Stacy for a look at local news.
Brightening up downtown Lloydminster may seem like a large task, but for one local artist, her vision is just about complete. Brett Holden has the story.
Brandy Hofer has been working at the site of Assure occupational testing for the last month in hopes to brighten the city and open some eyes in the community.
I think any way we can bring some more beauty to downtown and make people want to be down here and support the local businesses a bit more, and that's important.
Brandy has been an artist for a number of years, but this is the first mural she has worked on and the largest canvas as well.
And we were talking about it. I'm like, yeah, this will be a really great project. And I said, I'll go down there and measure today. So I went and measured, and it's 48 by 14 feet. I was like, this is a really big mural for my first time.
Brandy says there is a special message to the mural.
We met and we discussed we wanted to bring something really joyful and happy and playful. So we went back and forth on a few images, and obviously I can relate to this. I have a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old, so a little boy pushing a truck, I can really, attach myself to this imagery.
Brandy says the mural is almost complete with a varnishing coat going on Saturday. Brett Holden, Primetime Local News.
Mental health is a topic that many struggle to talk about, but one local teen is looking to shed some light on suicide prevention. The Lloydminster Youth Council and Project Sunrise will be coming together for a candle lighting ceremony to remember those who have lost their lives and to bring awareness to mental health.
And I wanted to partner with them, bring them involved, because we'd bring suicide prevention, and then also people can learn about mental health resources within our community that night.
This is the first candle lighting ceremony here in Lloydminster, and Brianna hopes that it is just the beginning. She believes that the youth will continue the conversation.
I find my generation is the pivotal generation for talking about mental health and breaking down those barriers and saying, like, it's okay to have, it's okay to reach out if you need help. It's okay to have these struggles.
The ceremony takes place on Monday at City Hall. Speakers and information start at 7 o'clock, with the candle lighting to follow at 8. A local Muslim community is setting their sights on fundraising for eye surgery equipment for the Lloydminster Region Health Foundation. Brendan Collins has more.
The local Ahmadiyya Muslim community announced a fundraiser called the Run for Lloydminster. With the goal of keeping eye surgeries in the border city, they hope to raise over $160,000 for new surgery equipment.
From a health foundation perspective, we really want to keep as many services here as possible so people can stay in town. So the scopes made a lot of sense for us to purchase, and obviously for them as well.
The society says compromised equipment has caused operations to be postponed and patients, often seniors, to seek treatment elsewhere. The fundraiser hopes to finance a new ophthalmology microscope for the hospital.
But whatever we can, whatever we could pitch in to buy the new microscope, maybe in this year, maybe in the next year, maybe in the coming years, we'll be buying that microscope.
CEO of the Health Foundation, Malcolm Radke, welcomes the event and looks forward to the partnership with the local Ahmadiyya Muslim community.
No matter who lives here, what age, what ethnicity, what gender, you're all using the hospital, whether you're having a child born there or you need some medical attention. You have a loved one in the hospital. I mean, the hospital affects everyone, healthcare facilities across Lloyd. So,
the run will take place at Bud Miller Park on Saturday, September 22nd. To register, you can visit runforlloyd.ca. For Primetime Local News, I'm Brendan Collins.
Several events around the Lakeland were held today to raise awareness to not drink when you are pregnant. Justin Marshall caught up with Brenda Phelan with the Lakeside Center for FASD at the event in Bonnyville.
Justin Marshall from Primetime Local News outside the Bonnyville Centennial Center. On Sunday, it's FASD Awareness Day. We're hosting events throughout the Lakeland, St. Paul, Cold Lake, and right here in Bonnyville. From the Lakeland Center for FASD, Brenda Phelan joins me. Why is it not cool to drink when you're pregnant?
Alcohol will go through the placenta and it will affect your baby as it's born.
And what kind of events are you hosting throughout the Lakeland? I know we have a barbecue behind us, a gentleman grilling up a storm. What's some of the money going towards?
Well, actually, it's free. All our barbecues and events today are free because we're doing an awareness. We want people to be aware. It's not one of our fundraisers. And to thank our community partners for being so great and sponsoring us and helping us out.
But I'm sure you wouldn't refuse any donations, and it goes back to programming.
That's right. We would never refuse a donation. We are a non-profit society, so we'll take all donations.
And why is it important to do these types of events?
Just to get the word out there about what FASD is and that we have a great support system in our communities in this area for that.
Well, Brenda, thanks for joining me.
You're welcome.
For Primetime Local News, I'm Justin Marshall.
Well, Sportsnet's Gene Principe has become a staple of every Oiler fan's enjoyment of the NHL season. Last night at the Evening of Champions, Primetime's Josh Ryan spoke to him about stopping in Lloydminster and getting to meet a new generation of hockey players.
I'm here with broadcasting and Oilers legend Gene Principe. It's an honor to have you in the building, sir. How is it to be in Lloydminster?
Well, I'm still trying to get over you calling me an Oilers legend. That's great. I appreciate it. That's the best introduction I've ever had.
It's a fair introduction if you ask anyone in town.
Well, that's very nice. I've quickly realized, and I knew this before, but I know it even more now, that this is an Oilers town, Oilers city, and that people really bleed copper and blue. It's great to be here. I've already had a chance to meet some of the kids that play on the team, some of the adults that help run the team, and many in the community who are part of the team that's made this a successful franchise.
Absolutely. So how many times have you been to Lloydminster in the past? Because this isn't your first trip in the city, no, correct?
No, it's not. First of all, personally speaking, we come through here 2 or 3 times a year because my wife's from Winnipeg, so we drive to Winnipeg. If City Council's watching, if you could do something about all those lights in a row, yes, that'd be great. But anyways, we're here to talk sports.
I've had the same complaint.
Yeah. I've been here as well to cover an Allen Cup, and that was back during the lockout year, the 2004-2005, the National Hockey League. And I've also been here to cover some other hockey. And I've been through town a little bit with some friends. We kind of came through and we were on kind of a guy's getaway, and we came in and around the Lloydminster area. So it's a city that, people are very familiar with and have some kind of connection if you're from Alberta in one way or the other.
Is it cool to be involved with an event like this where you're seeing younger athletes at a lower level but still potential future superstars, and you're kind of getting back in touch with sort of the grassroots of the game?
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, my job is now spent around professional athletes, sometimes 100% of the time. I spend much of the winter and fall and spring and hopefully into late spring with the Edmonton Oilers, covering them, and that's my job. That's what I do. So I don't get out as much as I used to and as you do, because I was once like you, working my way up in the broadcasting career, looking for that next opportunity, but it was always great to work in markets of this size. You really get a chance to kind of see the kids who one day develop into, whether it be a Bobcat or whether it move on to university or potentially pro in any sport, and you just get to really be a part of the community. I mean, I'm part of more the area of the city I live in, even though I feel like I'm an Edmontonian, but you may not get to some of the other areas that often. We're here, you get to a lot of the city a lot of the time, and I remember that during my career steps, and I really enjoyed that.
And that is our look at news for now. Let's check in with Connor and see what's happening on social media.
All right, well, thank you very much, Stacey. Yes, we asked you guys on Facebook today, now that school's back in session, should you monitor your child's social media activity as we take a look at our question of the day? As I mentioned, should parents be keeping a closer eye on their kids' social media activity now that school's back in session? Here's what some of you had to say on Facebook. Raylene says, absolutely, just straight up, absolutely. Nancy also says, always and keep a close communication between parents and kids of all ages. Of course, as we are in the social media segment, there are some things we want to talk about, as well as with Twitter. That also was big today because Elon Musk made headlines because this Tesla stock plummets 10% after Elon Musk smokes weed on Joe Rogan's podcast. And we will have a little bit more on that later on. But of course, that's not good for Tesla right now, and Elon Musk, who definitely made a big statement there on Joe Rogan's show. But we'll have more for you coming up later on in the show. Welcome back, everybody. Now, social media, as we mentioned just before the break, Elon Musk made headlines today with smoking weed on Joe Rogan's podcast and drinking whiskey and talking all things technology. Of course, the big thing was that Tesla also lost, their stock dropped 10%, which was really, really interesting because it hasn't had that sharp of a decline since 2016. So, and also on top of that, 2 executives quit. So that's kind of how things are going. I want to get your guys' thoughts. Let's start with you, Gerard, about what do you make of all this right now?
Well, if he's smoking it and drinking it in California where it's supposedly legal and your shares plummet as a result, does that tell you something about how people perceive that behavior?
Yeah, true. The internet just kind of really, I guess, people at Tesla that really kind of, with cannabis being a big thing now, and although that market kind of went up a little bit, but, I think for Elon Musk himself, he's always had some problems, and now that he's doing this now on Joe Rogan's podcast, everybody was freaking out. Was this more of, like, Josh, a overreaction from people on Twitter, or is it just more like they're really straightly kind of wondering about Elon Musk?
Well, specifically to Joe Rogan's podcast, everyone who's on that podcast, it feels like smokes weed. Like, that's really not uncommon for the Joe Rogan podcast. I mean, he regularly tokes up. So the idea of him doing in that forum shouldn't be that much of a shock. I guess seeing such a public figure smoke weed is maybe a little bit more taboo still, even though it is legal in many states and it's going to be legal in Canada soon. There is still a hint of, like, you don't want to see a businessman or a leader dabbling in something that many people still think is a bad substance, I guess.
So
exactly.
Is he trying to buck the trend then?
Possibly, maybe.
Because, I mean, the link is there. He smokes it, he drinks it, his shares plummet.
Yeah, well, what can you do there? If you're Elon Musk and you're leader of Tesla, then you can do that. Well, before, also one last thing, Canadian basketball legend Steve Nash was also inducted to the Hall of Fame. I know, Josh, you were really excited about this. You're a big basketball guy. What does that mean for you to see Steve Nash go into the Hall?
Yeah, well, it's awesome. I mean, he's at minimum a top 5 Canadian athlete of all time. Michael Grange from Sportsnet actually wrote an article saying that he believes Steve Nash is the single greatest Canadian athlete of all time, which at first sounds like a bit of a leap, but when you look at his accomplishments, 2-time MVP, an undersized athlete in such a athletic sport, the way he's changed the sport in Canada for the better, you can see the argument for it, and it's awesome to see in the Hall of Fame.
I know, definitely. Steve Nash is definitely one of the greatest basketball players for Canadian players to look up to, especially young Canadian players. But right now, let's toss it over to Brittany, who's still in Vermilion.
We're at the grand opening of Lakeland College's Animal Health Clinic, and it is beautiful. And I am joined by the Dean of Agricultural Sciences here at the college, Josie Van Lent. So thank you so much for welcoming us here today. And share with me, what's your overall impression now that the project is completed?
Well, we're incredibly pleased with the project and the building and the equipment. We have about $1.3 million in equipment, sort of state-of-the-art equipment around the animal health industry. Yeah, we're very pleased with the quality of the building and the layout of the building, and really look forward to what it'll bring in terms of our educational efforts here on the animal health side. Yeah, very, very happy about the building.
And how long was this project in the works for?
Well, really, we've recognized the need for a new clinic for about 10 years. And it was when we recognized some funding options about 3 or 4 years ago. And it's taken us about 2 years from the start of the concept to today to have this building as it is, as you see it.
And now, which programs here at the college will be working out of this building?
Sure. Primarily the animal health technology and vet medical assistance programs. So those programs service the animal health industry. And also we will have some interface with our animal science students as well, as they will be using the clinic as they would a normal clinic as beef producers or lamb producers. So yes, we'll have various parts and departments of our ag school using the clinic, but primarily the focus is animal health training.
That's wonderful to hear. And we're going to have more coming up from Josie a little bit later on in the show. We're just going to tune over to look at your weekend weather forecast.
All right, thanks a lot, Brittany. Yes, for those that woke up this morning and saw the rain, well, it might still continue throughout the weekend. If you're like me that likes to wear shorts, well, that time of the year might be over, but maybe not, because I still will anyways. If you take a look at our current temperatures right now, 22 right now, sitting at near the Lloydminster Airport. Take a look at the records, 32 degrees this time of year at 1998 rather than -2 in 1992. So that's a very long time ago, almost 18 years ago, 16 years ago. Sorry, my math is off. Take a look at the current temperatures. 22, as I mentioned, in Lloydminster, 23 in Vermilion, 26 in Vegreville and Wainwright, and also 22 down east in the Battlefords, and Edmonton also sitting at 26. It gets a little cooler as we head up north in Saskatchewan. St. Walburg at 17, 19 at Meadow Lake, Isle La Crosse at 16, Bonnyville, Cold Lake at 21 and 19 respectively, 23 in St. Paul, but Provost and Macklin down south are getting the warmer bits there at 28 and 27. As we take a look at currently at the satellite radar maps, of course, there's very little precipitation coverage, very little cloud coverage as well. And take a look at the next 3 days. As I mentioned, rain's still a possibility, a lot of cloud coverage, but we'll have more weather for you later in the show. But let's take a look at your stock market prices.
I'm joined again by the Dean of Agricultural Sciences, Josie Van Lent, and we're just discussing a little bit about what's going on here in regards to the number of students in their programs.
So the reason we built this clinic is we have a large demand there's a large demand in terms of employment on the animal health side across the prairies and probably across Canada. So, and we also have huge wait lists for this program. So we have over 250 students on a wait list. So when you have that combination of students wanting to take a program as well as a lot of job opportunities, I really feel like we've done the right thing in terms of this building, and this building allows us to expand our enrollments to meet that need, that industry need.
And are we able to create a really hands-on program so that our grads are prepared to enter into industry?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really good point. This program in particular is very skill-based. And this is, as you can tell, the layout of this clinic and everything about it models a real-world clinic. Any clinic that you may walk into, new clinic that you may walk into in industry. And the reason for that is so that our students are learning in an environment that closely mimics what they would experience in their workforce.
That's amazing. We're going to have a little bit more coming up later in the show, showcasing the rest of this clinic. And we're going to get a chance to speak to some students as well to find out how they're enjoying being able to use a new clinic like this compared to the old one that was built in 1960. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was built in 1967. It was actually a remodeled dairy barn. So yeah, and one of the reasons we built this as well is we were really limited for space in terms of being able to expand our programming. So we took some additional students this fall, and we will be taking additional enrollments next fall as well. So we are expanding our program as a result of this building too.
Perfect. Well, thanks so much for that information, and we're just going to head over to agriculture news.
Thank you very much, Brittany. In the world of agriculture, well, Health Canada is proposing a ban on the use of strychnine by ag producers to control gophers. The Saskatchewan Association of Rural Municipalities is against the proposal. Let's find out why producers resent the furry rodent.
In some cropland where we're alongside pasture, we've had significant losses. And the major problem is the holes themselves and the danger to livestock and horses and people.
All right. Ron Weaver has done mixed agriculture on this property about 30 years. He says the holes made by the gophers make it hard on equipment like the baler, and it comes at a cost.
There are years in the cropland where we've suffered thousands of dollars of damage due to the gophers.
On the pasture side, the land becomes so rough they have to be torn up and reseeded. Producers use strychnine at the higher concentration. Weaver says the alternative is not effective.
It was far too labor intensive to get enough poison out there to do have any sort of impact on the gophers.
As producers grapple with viable alternatives, Weaver insists that using the poison according to the instructions is the best option.
I mean, there are non-poison techniques for controlling them, such as shooting. Again, they're very, very labor intensive and time consuming. If we don't have access to it, it creates a whole bunch of issues.
Health Canada is holding an online consultation until September 27th. Gerard Lampow, Primetime Local. Well, the Saskatchewan government's latest crop report says producers made considerable progress in the harvest this past week, despite the cool and damp weather. The report says 39% of the crop is now in the bin, well ahead of the 5-year average of 25% for this time of the year. Now, the harvest is most advanced in the southern regions, where about 60% of the crop is now combined. Only about 8% is combined in the northwest. The report adds the majority of crop damage for the week was due to a lack of moisture and strong wind, and there were also some reports of frost causing damage in parts of the province. That's our agriculture news. Let's have a look at our ag prices.
City Center Auto Body is proud to offer the paintless dent removal system. This works by going behind the panel, working out small dents. Lloydminster's trusted auto body shop for over 35 years.
Well, there was some sad news in the music world today as rapper Mac Miller was reportedly found dead at the age of 26 from an apparent drug overdose. As we take a look at some tweets that were tweeted out by some various people today, as we take a look right now. Chance the Rapper, says, I don't know what to say. Mac Miller took me on my second tour ever, but beyond helping me launch my career, he was one of the sweetest guys I ever knew. Great man. I loved him for real. I'm completely broken. God bless him. As we take a look at even Canadian Shawn Mendes said, unreal, so sad. Rest in peace, Mac Miller. And DJ Pauly D as well says, rip Mac Miller as well. It's just a very sad day for that music community indeed. But as Josh mentioned earlier, Michael Grange, here's the tweet that he had. The short one in the middle is Steve Nash, for my money, the greatest Canadian athlete of all time, as he's in the NBA Hall of Fame class there. Let's take a look at one more here. As Magic Johnson himself said, Steve Nash was one of the greatest scoring and playmaking point guards to ever play the game. Well, that's big praise. Speaking of sports, let's head over to Josh Ryan, who's got your look at that.
Yeah, anytime Irvin Magic Johnson says you're a great playmaker, that is Big praise indeed. Now, the Lloydminster Comp Barons have had an impressive preseason thus far in the high school football season, defeating Bev Facey 36-13. They're one of the top Edmonton area schools. Now, the Barons continued that momentum this week against Westlock. Their starters got off to a very fast start indeed, scoring 30 points in the first half. This allowed Coach Aaron Harper to get every player on the roster game action in a 46-8 victory.
I kind of put it on the veteran guys at the beginning of the game, like, if you do your job, it'll be a chance for our young guys to get in, and everyone plays.
This level of success in exhibition play is encouraging for when the Barons begin to expand their playbook in the regular season.
Give some different looks on defense and on offense, and give some guys just have some special packages in for some guys that we like to play maybe in different areas. So, yeah, it'll be fun once we start to put that stuff in. I think this team can be pretty dynamic on offense and defense.
Next up for the Barons is a trip to Hunting Hills High School in Red Deer over the weekend. Last night, the Lloydminster Bobcats hosted their 13th annual Dinner of Champions. It's the club's largest fundraiser, which featured broadcasters Gene Principe, Jack Roberts, and Bob Stauffer from the Edmonton Oilers. Amidst the meal, entertainment, and auction items, veteran players were encouraging the rookies not to be shy.
Everyone here just loves to get to know you. That's why they come to the games. They want to get to know the people you are, not just the guys you are on the ice. So super cool, and just enjoy it. Just have some fun with it.
Play-by-play man Jack Richards says it's a cool experience to watch the Bobcat players realize that outside of standing on the stage, they're doing the same thing he is.
They're interacting with the community and forging potential relationships that may serve them very well 10, 15 years down the road, no matter what their future turns out to be in hockey.
Total funds being raised are still being calculated. We'll have more on the event next week in Beyond the Boards. And that's it for me in sports. Connor has your weather next.
All right, thanks, Josh. As I mentioned, of course, it's going to be a little bit cooler, a lot of cloud coverage and possible rain over the next couple days. As we take a look at the regional overviews over the next couple days, Lloydminster at overnight at 10, North Battleford 10 overnight. So a lot of single digits and 10 degrees in our region. Tomorrow, though, it will be Lloydminster will get 27 degrees, though, with a 55% chance. Cold Lake will get a 60% chance, sitting at 20, and then Wainwright at 40%, and then Bonnyville at 61%. So still, it's going to get cooler in the morning, and then heading into the afternoon, it will get a little warmer into the evening. But right now, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with more Primetime Local News.
Hey, what's going on? It's Pete Jackson from Boom 95.3. Here's what's happening in Cold Lake. And we're going to talk about a couple events that are actually happening next weekend, September the 8th and September the 9th. We'll start on the 8th, which is a Saturday, and over in Bonnyville, they're going to be having the Bonnyville Agricultural Society's annual Fall Fair and Farmers Market. It's an absolutely free event to check out, and it's kind of the official kickoff to the fall season. So there's going to be kids games, bouncy houses, wagon and pony rides, 4-H displays, gymkhana, and so much more. Again, the admission is absolutely free, and it's going to be taking place at the Bonnyville Rodeo Grounds, and actually Boom 95.3 will be live on location hanging out that day to give you updates on all the fun. The following day, Sunday, September the 9th, the Lakeland Humane Society is having their annual Bark in the Park event, and this event can be summed up as one big dog walk, as participants can go online and download pledge sheets, and at that point raise a little bit of money, come on down for the dog walk, and get together with other animal lovers in the area, and all the money raised is going to go help out the Lakeland Humane Society. After the dog walk happens, back at the shelter, there's going to be a ton of family-friendly activities. There's going to be a barbecue set up, bouncy castles for the kids, lots of different games. For the furry ones, there's going to be free microchipping happening that day, and there's going to be nail trims for your dogs as well. So more information on that one, and to get your pledge sheets, you can download those via the Lakeland Humane Society's website. That's what's happening in Cold Lake. If you have an event you want featured on What's Happening, get a hold of me by email, pete@boom953.ca.
All right, well, of course, we are having that cloud coverage that we're going to be seeing over the weekend. And currently, taking a look right now, it's not too bad right now at 22 degrees right now, sitting at with that visibility at 24 degrees. If you take a look at the current temperatures, 22 in Lloydminster, 25 Maidstone, and 27 out in Provost Macklin. So they're a little bit warmer. As we take a look at the next 24 hours, you can see we're getting a decent amount of cloud cover starting off of that early morning, and then it will kind of progress later on to the afternoon there. And we take a look at tomorrow, 22 as well. Take a look at there, 25 again in Macklin for tomorrow. And take a look at the set regional overview, just a quick little look there. But right now we're going to take it back to Brittany, who's out in Vermilion.
And we're back at Lakeland College at their new animal health clinic grand opening, and I'm joined by a second-year animal health technician, Haley, who's going to share with us a little bit about why she chose Lakeland College as her choice to get her education.
I love Lakeland College. This has always been the program that I've wanted to do since I was little. I've never had a question about it, and Lakeland College is definitely the best school for this program in Canada.
And why do you think that it's the best?
Because of all of our hands-on facilities. We have the farm, we get animals in from the SPCA, and we're working with animals daily.
And why did you want to be an animal health technician? What part of the job, really appeals to you?
Oh, definitely the bond between animals and humans. I have a bond with my animals too, so I know how important it is to other people.
And what kind of a practice do you want to work in when you graduate?
Definitely a mixed animal practice. I like the large animals and the dogs and cats as well.
And how many students are in your class?
We have 37 at the moment.
And how often do you get to work with animals hands-on?
Every day.
That's amazing. Now, what is your first impression of the new building versus the old one that was built in 1960?
It's so much more spacious. It's beautiful. We have brand new equipment. It's amazing.
And what about the actual health spaces that you are in? We're in an equine space right now. What is that like?
It's super convenient because we used to have to walk all the way across campus on the farm to our rodeo barn to work with the horses, and now we have the facilities up and close with all of our equipment.
And you were mentioning earlier that there's actually more seats this year in the program?
Yeah, we were able to increase our intake by 30 seats, so less people on the waiting list.
That's amazing. We're going to have a little bit more coming up from Haley a little bit later in the show, but right now we're going to head back into the studio for some social media trends.
Several events around the Lakeland were held today to raise awareness to not drink when you are pregnant. Justin Marshall caught up with Brenda Phelan with the Lakeland Center for FASD at the event in Bonnyville.
Justin Marshall from Primetime Local News outside the Bonnyville Centennial Center. On Sunday, it's FASD Awareness Day. We're hosting events throughout the Lakeland, St. Paul, Cold Lake, and right here in Bonnyville. From the Lakeland Center for FASD, Brenda Phelan joins me. Why is it not cool to drink when you're pregnant?
Alcohol will go through the placenta, and it will affect your baby as it's born.
And what kind of events are you hosting throughout the Lakeland? I know we have a barbecue behind us, a gentleman grilling up a storm. What's some of the money going towards?
Well, actually, it's free. All our barbecues and events today are free because we're doing an awareness. We want people to be aware. It's not one of our fundraisers. And to thank our community partners for being so great and sponsoring us and helping us out.
But I'm sure you wouldn't refuse any donations, and it goes back to programming.
That's right. We would never refuse a donation. We are a non-profit society, so we'll take all donations.
And why is it important to do these types of events?
Just to get the word out there about what FASD is, and that we have a great support system in our communities in this area for that.
Well, Brenda, thanks for joining me.
You're welcome.
For Primetime Local News, I'm Justin Marshall.
That's it for news for now. Let's check out with Brittany in Vermilion.
I'm joined with John from the SPCA, who's having his first look at the new animal health clinic. So John, tell me, what have you thought so far?
It's a great new facility. It's very excited for the students and the faculty for, definitely looks like they've put a lot of care and attention into designing a facility that's going to be wonderful for the animals that they're going to be looking after, and a great learning facility for the students.
And how will this be benefiting the Lloydminster and District SPCA, because our animals from Lloyd are going to be coming here?
That's correct. So to partner with the students, the dogs and cats that we have in our facility are often brought here for either kennel care, or at times they're also brought here to receive their spay and neuter surgery. So it's a great opportunity for the students to get some hands-on experience with the animals that are in our care, and it's a benefit to us as well, because we're not only helping the students learn, but it definitely helps support our services and can definitely help us manage some of our funds and through that support.
And do you know approximately how many animals might come here in a year?
It depends on the year. Generally, we're looking at around anywhere from about 50, sometimes more, on the animals. And certainly, my understanding is with this facility, they're going to be able to accept more students. And certainly, I suspect that we will see those numbers increase over time as well, which is wonderful. And certainly, it's very exciting to see the number of students that are going to be able to come through and enter into the field of animal care and hopefully some into animal welfare as well.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much for all of that, John. And we're just going to head right back over to the studio for agriculture news.
Thank you very much, Brittany. Some awesome developments there at Lakeland College Vermilion. Well, in the world of agriculture, Health Canada is proposing a ban on the use of strychnine by ag producers to control gophers. And the Saskatchewan Association of Rural Municipalities is against the proposal. Let's find out why producers resent the furry rodent.
In some cropland where we're alongside pasture, we've had significant losses. And the major problem is the holes themselves and the danger to livestock and horses and people.
All right. Ron Weaver has done mixed agriculture on this property about 30 years. He says the holes made by the gophers make it hard on equipment like the baler, and it comes at a cost.
There are years in the cropland where we've suffered thousands of dollars of damage due to the gophers.
On the pasture side, the land becomes so rough they have to be torn up and reseeded. Producers use strychnine at the higher concentration. Weaver says the alternative is not effective.
It was far too labor intensive to get enough poison out there to do have any sort of impact on the gophers.
As producers grapple with viable alternatives, Weaver insists that using the poison according to the instructions is the best option.
I mean, there are non-poison techniques for controlling them, such as shooting. Again, they're very, very labor intensive and time consuming. If we don't have access to it, it creates a whole bunch of issues.
Health Canada is holding an online consultation until September 27th.
Furniture set and design, supplied by Furniture Gallery and Furniture House, downtown Lloydminster.
Lakeland College had their grand opening today of their new animal health clinic, and it was beautiful. They spent almost $2.5 million building the almost 13,000 square foot facility. Thank you so much for taking the tour with us today. And coming up on Monday, we're going to be down at City Council as they get back to business at City Hall.
Thanks for that, Brittany. Yeah. Great facility there down in Vermilion for sure. Yeah, no, pretty top of the line stuff. But we got some other great things coming up next week. You were mentioning that you have your Ag Life coming up on Monday.
Ag Life is starting Monday evening at 7:30, and one of the beautiful things about it is we're going to get to expand on some of the topics that we talk about in our ag stories and sit down and chat with folks in the industry, find out some of the inside scoop, so to speak.
Really?
Yeah.
Should be a fun time, right?
Yeah, a very informative time to have found the world of agriculture quite interesting, and I'm inspired by meeting so many of our ag producers. So tune in for that.
Absolutely, that'll be a great thing. And what about you, Josh? What's going up in sports Monday if you've got some things on the go kind of right
now? Plenty on the go. Obviously, Bobcats and Pontiac's getting ready to start their season. Rustlers Athletics is going to really ramp up as the soccer teams get underway. And I mean, there's lots of high school stuff we haven't even touched on yet. So can't wait to get to all that.
The soccer team, of course, we remember Josh Ryan was losing his mind when the men's futsal team played last year, and they,
because a player won a gold medal by taking one in the soft spot. That's a significant thing. That's never happened before.
That's like
it's definitely Friday now.
Well, it is Friday because we're ending things because it's later. I mean, but the Rustlers Athletics in general, they're gearing up for some big years for sure.
Sure. Yeah, no, it should be a very exciting year for Rustlers Athletics. Obviously, the basketball program having the championship in March, is going to be significant. But more than a few teams are going to challenge or outright be the favorite to win a title. So that's exciting.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we're going to take a quick look at our next 7 days. It's all rain for the most part. 63% chance on Monday at 14, 10 on Tuesday, 8 on Wednesday, Thursday, and at 10 and 3 respectively. So not looking good for weather-wise for most part.
Yeah, it's looking like a really tough forecast.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next week. Have a great weekend.
Elongated muskrat.